Hello and welcome to In Design With, a podcast series by Identity focused on architecture, interiors, and design from the Middle East to the world. I'm your host and Identity's editor, Anisha, and for our debut episode, we are in conversation with Dariush Zandi. An architect by profession, Dariush can be best described as a local legend and an icon in the arts and cultural community. As the founder of the cultural and artistic oasis, the Courtyard in Quoz, Dariush's work has included the restoration of historical buildings and their conversions into museums, such as the Naif Fort and Dubai Museum. Dariush is also the former chairman of the UAE Architectural Heritage Society, the English chapter, and he has also played a part in creating urban masterplans for Dubai and worked on projects for landmarks such as the Sheikh Saeed House, Safa Park and Mushrif Park, making him a vital part of the city's architecture and design fabric. To me, he's one of my personal cultural heroes and icons in the local design space. Welcome to the show, Dariush.
Thank you. Thank you for such a good and very nice introduction. I appreciate your thoughts, and I'm so happy to be here and to be the first one presenting and doing this podcast with you.
So why don't you talk us through when you came to Dubai and you were part of an architectural firm at that time, I would say in the 70s to 80s?
I came to Dubai in 1978 for the first time, and I arrived to Abu Dhabi in middle of summer to come and look at a site that I was designing for in Dubai. So it was an amazing experience. Abu Dhabi was like everything under construction. There were, cranes everywhere, and it was the middle of summer. So when you arrive at night and you see this, it's not for real. It's just like, it's all like out of a movie. Having said that, and traveled throughout the Emirates, very carefully visiting the Abu Dhabi first, and then ending up in Dubai, looking at the site. The site was a landfill around the Corniche, which is those days they called it, but it was Dubai Creek Corniche project, and that is the time that they were expanding the city, the old city, to give more room to pedestrian, to more development, and ease the vehicular movement and so forth. So I entered that competition. I was invited to do that with a firm from Jordan, Amman, Jafar Tuqman and Partners. And second time, it was 1980 when I had this amazing ticket, $2,000, going around the world in 365 days with Pan Am.
That was an actual competition that you...
No, that was actually a ticket that I purchased.
And
it was like with $2,000, you can travel a whole year with Pan Am, but one way, like going west.
Okay.
So I went through so many countries, and end of 1980, again, I ended up in Dubai because Pan Am flew to Dubai those days, and tired, exhausted after like 8-9 months of travels, empty pockets, and and my last place that I visited was India, actually.
Okay.
And I ended up spending all my money to buy beautiful things that I saw in that trip, beautiful saris and handmade embroideries and, dishes and all that. I love the miniatures made in India. Anyway, then I said, well, I know Dubai, and I know Dubai government, Dubai Municipality, who I did that project for. Let's go see if they need an urban designer. By then I had completed my urban design degree, and I had now Master of Urban Design, Master of City Planning, and Master of Architecture. So having said that, yes, it was like, great, yes, come in, part of the team quickly in no time. And that was really the start of a journey, which I'm still here. I'm in Dubai, and spent a good 14 years with Dubai Municipality as a town planner and architect to the city, and then being a consultant after that, which I'm still doing.
Oh, wow. What was one of the first projects that you worked on when you were working with Dubai Municipality?
It was interesting. There was no first. Immediately, it was just like, ooh, the whole sort of line of papers. Dubai 25 years master plan for Dubai City and Dubai Emirates. Next would be Sheikh Saeed House, which now is called Al Maktoum Family House, a restoration and turning into museum. Next would be Safa Park, Mushrif Park, and few others, So it was like, just graduated from university, and here I am, I couldn't believe, it's like a dream come true. It was challenging, and I loved it, and I felt my employer was like a professional corporation. It wasn't just like a government office, because we were actually designing, we were planning, we were doing, rather than just give everything to the consultant and just be on their mercy and wait for the result. So it was really hands-on experience that I had, and I worked before that in Jordan, as I told you, several projects, but then also in the States, where whatever you do, 10% gets executed, because of all kind of reasons. But here it was like 90%, 99% rate of getting your work done and executed. So that way it was really a mind-blowing experience. And we just would design, plan, and build, and that's it. We just move into the next project. So just been always this sort of up and up in terms of getting the projects and doing it. I mean, it was not only this major project, there were also some small projects. So because of my love of art and being trusted by my superiors, I would do things like a photography exhibition, which would be opened with by the chairman of the municipality, director general, doing it right in there, which was very unique to them as well. One of their staff would do an exhibition of photography. I set up the exhibition hall, which was in the ground floor of the building, the headquarters, for our project. So we had something there to show to the visitors, but also dignitaries. People will come from all around the world, and also from the region. We had mayors visiting us, and all kind of dignitaries, and that was a way to show what we're doing.
Right. And how do you feel now that we are like 40 years on plus, when you look back and you look at parts of the city that you were very involved with, what's the feeling like?
Is sense of achievement, sense of you were part of something that it was very successful, and it just feels good to contribute to something that you could actually see the results. And I tell you one example. Last week, being as part of the Future Forum, which was conducted 2 days in a future museum, the night before, we were invited for a dinner in Shendaga with a tour of Shendaga museums, which again was part of areas that I worked on. Sheikh Saeed House, now Maktoum Family House, is located there. Surprisingly, where the dinner was held was right in front of this amazing house. It just really took me back to 1981 when I started looking at the existing situation of the house. I took many pictures. I went to the house. I brought people to interview them, to ask them questions. What is their experience in that house before we started the renovation? Flying, and taking picture of how things look like, looking at the old photograph of a city, see maybe we find things that now is not there anymore. And just seeing it, after so many years, still being used, and I'm dining in front of it in an occasion like this, which is for the future of Dubai. So it was really amazing experience, and to be part of that, exactly, part of that, and see the other houses, and see the creek, which actually is the backbone of this city, is what city came about, is from having this, natural harbor, which helped it to become what it is. And then people took it to the next stage, and where we are. And, 46 years on, I'm still here, and I feel I'm just blessed with just every day something new comes up. And just my antenna is always on, just see what is next, what's coming. And, from everything that I see and every occasion, I'll see the connection to the past. And hopefully I'll put all these experiences in a book in the next year or two.
I really hope so, because hearing about someone who's been here for so long and been part of the design fabric that forms the city right from its very humble beginnings as a port is something worth documenting and worth having for us all to keep as the city grows and grows, and just to look back and to remember where we came from.
Exactly.
I think more than anything else.
Exactly. Just one point, I think what you just said, brought something to my attention, that it's, what was amazing about it, that you had this spectrum of work, from a master plan for a city and Emirates for 25 years, to a project like that, like Sheikh Saeed House, and not only helping to restore it to its original state, but also turning it to a museum. And it was nothing other than myself to collect the objects, to make the presentation boards, to buy images of the photographers who were here at the time, and using my own photographs. So you could see, how lucky, somebody like me could be, to just go from one end of the spectrum to the other end, to look at the details of a house and do it for public.
Yeah.
And it's still there.
Yeah, and I personally have a lot of memories of Safa Park and Mushrif Park. So when you were designing these spaces, which were essentially community spaces, what were some of the thoughts that you considered at that time? Because it's hard to predict that it would be such a big city. So what were some of the thoughts that went through your mind, or what were some of the discussion points that you had when you were
For example, Mushrif Park, again, was one of the first projects that they came, with the papers sitting on my table. It was such a interesting project because it was at the time way outside the city, which now is in the middle of not middle of the city, but is quite inside. I mean, the city has gone way behind it. But then seeing the respect for the nature, because it was a hilly area. It was an area that a lot of trees, the indigenous trees to the area, which is Qaf, GHAF, and they grow on their own because of their nature to the climate. They produce their own water. That's very important. That's how they survive. So that the municipality decided to turn this into a public park. But because of the sheer size, it wasn't just a normal park. it was more of a, I would consider the national park, so we called it Mushrif National Park, where you could have a lot of facilities like swimming pools, like, smaller facilities, playgrounds, and, fountains and vegetable gardens and so forth. But also, because of the where it was, we also made it, kept the way it was to be a park of the natural flora, fauna of the region. Do horseback riding, running, bicycle path, and many other things that still exist. And the park has been extended since. We had the second phase to it, which was we were supposed to do like a safari kind of park, but later that moved elsewhere. So it was really these things made it special, and but of course we had consultant to help us with this, and we inherited a couple of swimming pools from the previous stage of the projects, and Safa Park, for that matter, was also out in a way was outside the city. It was in Jumeirah, but Jumeirah was like few villas, houses along the beach. And this area was still fairly vacant when the first phase of the Safa Park got developed. But there was some issues with the irrigation and the type of soil that it was there already. So we had to completely redesign, replan it, and provide all the equipment and fresh soils, irrigation, and also dewatering, where it could help to aliven the vegetation that you put in, and resulted beautifully. And whenever I went back, it just surprised me how green it is and how the whole area now around it is developed. But also recently, a part of it is dedicated to a channel which goes by, and I'm jealous of those people who are going to get an apartment next door to it, and they can just have this beautiful view of water in one side with the channel, and the other side, which is the park. So I picnicked there.
Yeah, that I used to as well back in the day, which wasn't very long ago. Yeah. I also wanted to ask you about when you founded the Courtyard. How did that idea strike you, and how did you get to this point?
Yes. We work for our profession. We do what needs to be done, but sometimes there are things you want to do for yourself. And the time came, I said, well, I want to have a space of my own. And I'm a kind of person that I like to do things right from the start. I couldn't do with renting a building or converting. I said, let me try to see if I can find a land where I can develop it myself. And luckily, I was able to secure a land in Algoz. But Algoz of those days, that's quite a few years. It was just a bit of warehousing and factories of blocks and marbles and concrete, and what you trying to do? Where do you want to go? You sure you want to do this? You sure you want to invest in doing something? I said, look, this is for me. This is not for anybody else to show that what I can do, but always with a bit of imagination and with your limitation, you can always come up with something that suits you. So having said that, I just closed my eyes. I didn't look how much money I have. I didn't look what I'm going to use it for. I knew I'm going to have an office. I'm going to have a, exhibition place for my own, at least, artistic, the photography that I was doing, and maybe become also a platform for other artists, who were interested in showcasing. Because before that, I was for a long time, member of the Dubai Arts Society, Art Center, which was located in Jumeirah. So, but I had in mind to do something just more than that, have a bigger space, and hopefully to have this platform where other things, cultural and artistic, can happen. And it really took 32 years to get to this stage. Took a couple of years to design it and build it. And believe me, whenever I needed the funds, it just came. It's like, when you feel that, you need something and you want it, it happens. And it did happen, and it got finished and immediately attracted a lot of people, like-minded people who were also looking for a space to showcase their artwork, theaters, classes and so forth. And now we really have a sort of a hub for cultural and artistic events, to the point that a couple of years ago the government decided to change the zoning from an industrial zone to creative zone, which, wow, it was like, it was like achievement. I mean, I didn't do it, but they felt that what happened there throughout these years of, pushing and thinking what is right to put there, which it was not what it was supposed to be there, because industrial area doesn't need theater. Industrial area doesn't need galleries. The industrial area doesn't need coffee shop and classes. But I felt every community needs all of that. Plus. But, that would be like my contribution is this artistic and cultural part. And I was happy that recognition came about, and the zoning changed. And like 10 days ago, we received a new sheet with saying this is a new activities that you can do. I said, I've done all of that, but it was really, heartwarming to see that now other people can also do it without having go through a lot of troubles and with the permissions and so forth, to get that access to what they want to do. And really, we are in under such amazing thoughts and government who sees the initiatives, and then it can take this to the next stage and turns to something that it comes from individual thoughts to something that others can benefit. And now everybody can do it.
Yeah, that's true. So you've kind of paved the way in some way for others to take inspiration and do something like that.
We are same spaces, and we haven't grown space-wise, but we have grown people-wise. We have grown size in terms of our contribution, and also having like-minded people, not only at the Courtyard, but in neighboring plots like Al Circle, which also played very important role there. Yesterday I was in another area which is called Al Khayat Avenue as well, which a lot of new galleries. So it's like, mushrooming now, which is a beautiful thing, to have something which is very unique to the area. Where in the region you have such an area that, you have all these like-minded people together, and they're not necessarily, large, because the large not always means everything. I think large is in terms of quality, in terms of what you can do for people, young and old, and bring in the happiness, the soul that people need, like to be happy in a space. And I'm so glad the idea of the playing on people's soul and connecting to their people's soul and being there for so many years, I ended up speaking to people. And as an architect, urban planner, I want to see what it works, how you could do these things again and again to just bring success to the urban setting. Mm-hmm. And something like art into the city to complement what else is there. Industrial is there, business is there, and but this, which is sort of touches human senses, if you can play a part in that, I think it's very important. It's not easy to know how you could do that, but I'm happy to share it with anybody who likes to know.
Oh, that's awesome. In terms of the courtyard, when you were first planning on what you wanted to look like, I think it was called a different name then. What gave you the idea of creating this, like, different facades within the space and this unique look that the courtyard has, which I don't think anyone can imitate or emulate. Of course, they can build something with the sensibility, but it's very unique, and there's not quite a place in Dubai like it. Yeah. What were your inspirations, and why did you decide to go that way when you were designing it?
If you follow your dream and you are connected to yourself as a self-helped, self-grown person, and also respect your past, connected to your past, we are our past and we make our future. So this is representing who I am. I'm coming from, Middle East background. I was born and raised in Tehran. I traveled to US when I was only 19 years old to study architecture. And New York, from a small sort of neighborhood to a big metropolis like Manhattan, and being exposed to that, and yet always keeping connection with the nature and having these two play a role in your well-being and your growth. When I was about to do this, I continuously referred back who I am, what I like, how I want to see myself in a space, how my space should look like, and I am a mix of many things, and so I want to see what I am, and those facades sort of represent where I come from. They have touch of Middle East, they have touch of, Europe, they have touch of my travels throughout. I travel throughout Europe to just look at the architecture which I study, from Renaissance, from Greek, Roman, to most contemporary architects of our time in Europe. So, this really represents all of those experiences in a nutshell, because it's an art how you could do that. And that's like walking in a Palladio stage, which is no longer than 12 meter. Palladio did a theater in I think is Verona or Vicenza. Anyway, it's called Olympia. It's one of the oldest still surviving theaters. And when you look at, you look at that middle avenue, these three avenues, Palladio, he's the architect of the classic times. you see a city in 12 meter long. So this, I was lucky to have more than 12 meter, 40, 50 meter or whatever. So that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see a stage set. But a stage set which at the same time represents what is in me, what is surrounding me, what represents where we are, Dubai. And Dubai is made of all this culture that we are, three of us sitting here, we all come from different backgrounds, and I didn't try purposely to be, but ended up to be representing many of those cultures and people who we have in Dubai, which is, multicultural architecture of this region, so that you could see it there, but in a fun way, but with a twist. And that twist was that is finding objects that I can reuse in this building, not only make it interesting, but also giving it different look, different feel, and playfulness throughout without spending a lot of money. And thank God people throw out a lot of stuff.
Okay.
So I would go around and just collect things that is either in the construction site, beds of the, laborers, or I will go to Jeddah where, shipwrecks are, left in the corner of a, the place, or a house where I see is like going through demolition, ask permission, I can have them. They say, yeah, you make our life easier, remove it, and through that I salvaged so many things. And in the past, I also had kept a lot of stuff that I felt they're valuable. Historically, they play an important role in the life of Dubai, from the old Dubai. Any house that I see that is being replaced by new buildings, I will keep doors, windows, balconies, and so forth. And I reuse them in this building. So it gives you that true feeling rather than come in, make new things, looking like old, but you're using the actual found objects which have lived through many, many lives of 100 years. So this is where actually I think people get connected to it. Their soul get touched because they see something there that has not only the beauty, but also the history, the life of the past. And that is one of the secrets, not all of.
Not all of them. You're not giving me all of the secrets.
I will.
Oh, that's great. I just wanted to ask you, in terms of how you view Dubai today, what do you think could improve the path that it's going on as a city?
It's not easy to work in a city which is growing with such a speed. The first 3 decades that I'm familiar with, like, 70s, late 70s, 80s, and 90s, this was much slower paced. So us as a town planners, architects, we had more time to digest and see the result and to see our labor of love to come to a reality and experience it, and hopefully to use those lessons to our next projects. But what happened after 2000, it was this fast pace of development, which now is not just walking or having a slow like a run. It was like running, and it surprised me, like I remember in 1981 when I was writing the the guidelines of the master plan to find a consultant for ourselves. Right at the beginning, we limited the city of the next 20 years to what is today Saqim Road, which sort of terminates as Burj Al Arab. We thought like by, 2000, 2005, that's no way you can grow beyond that. We were wrong. I was wrong. So Dubai Marina, it was way beyond. I mean, I used to go windsurfing, in that area. Minasiyah was called, it was way outside the city, like already in like Abu Dhabi, A whole new harbor was developing with Dubai Marina, JBR, Jumeirah Beach Resident, which was only a handful of villas, which was built, was called Sheikh Rashid Villas, for people who worked in Dubai Electricity Department, because the power generation was built there. Jabal Ali Port was being built, so these engineers or whatever, they used to live in these villas. So always it was ahead. Dubai thoughts and our leaders were way ahead of the planners like us, which really that's what planning is all about. You plan, but you don't say this is what it should be. That's not a good plan. I think the good plan is like you let it evolve and change by the situation which arises, and Dubai situation it really changed in a big time and in a vast spectrum of the area that sometime, wow, we're going where? Jabal Ali. I was given, again, 1981, a project to design actually for 500,000 people behind Jabal Ali Port. From Jabal Ali Port to Qantout, which was a border with Abu Dhabi. Okay, newly graduate here, I'm doing my planning, my, sorting out where the housing would be where would be the entertainment, the park, and the beach, which again was one of my favorite, because at that time that beach along Jabal Ali was preserved, place of the for people to go, and and it still is there. Now I saw a new development plan by RTA to develop it, plus the whole Jabal Ali poem. And later in 2005 and 6, me and my company, which was now working as a freelance architect town planner, to do a plan for 1.5 million people in the same area called Dubai Waterfront. So the scale that it jumped, it was amazing. And with the kind of development comes issues, Yes, we have traffic on the road, but every day you have a new road, new bypass, new, diversion, bridges, tunnels to cope with that. It's not easy. It's very, very expensive. The infrastructure, because the city just doesn't grow like that. You have to provide the infrastructure for it. Whether it's water, electricity, whether it's police force, hospitals, and the whole, infrastructure to make it comprehensive development of a neighborhood and make it into neighborhood. The landscape, sometimes you go places, the landscape is there before even the people have moved in. Really, so it's difficult task, but I think it's been handled quite nicely, and there is no shortcut in spending. I think what sometimes the figures I hear, wow, And a stormwater drainage, which we had the rain, for example. Yes, it was an issue, but these are calamities that happens because of all these things that we're going through with the global warming and with all these things, and it's how excessive, and it will be more and more. Okay, we put in billions to just do storm drainage happening in Al Quoz, where we are, the Courtyard is. And it's under construction as we speak. So it's like the remedy comes quite quickly as it comes, because some things are force majeure. You cannot imagine what it comes and to what extent and to what scale and what the city and how you manage a city and the city's growth.
All right. My last question for you.
Sure.
What lessons from your journey would you share with a young architect starting his career today in Dubai?
Do everything is like you're doing it for yourself. And of course, we never want anything better than the best for ourselves.
Right.
And if you think like that, then you will spend the time, you do the due diligence, you work hard to find issues that are there to solve and to be true in it, and come up with the solutions which are really deeply touches you. And look at that deeper yourself, and not to try to just make it look good. Doesn't mean anything to look good. Luxury doesn't mean anything to me. And make people happy. What you give it internally, the soul you give it, the beauty that comes out of it, and think that this has to go through the life. See it in the next year, next 5 years, whether it's architecture, whether it's interior. See how it will end up in the next 20 years. So build it to last. Put in the material which it gets old, but with the grace. Use equipment that it ages but changeable by time. Use material which is so close to also nature that when it fades, it becomes even beautiful. We haven't painted any of these facades that you mentioned, but the way they weathered, because I use earthy colors, and not colors, but a soil which is colored to add to the, let's say, white cement, like ochre, which they get from the earth. And that fades, but doesn't change color. And if there is if do it the way, like if you get a crack, it's even nicer. But do things that you can layer it, and this continuous change. And some of that is to bring the natural elements. I'm doing a book about the Courtyard, and one part of it, which is called sacred elements. And those sacred elements, we talk about air, water, earth. And in that is the nature, trees, plants, flowers, birds, bees. And we have all of that. We have beehives at the Courtyard. We didn't bring it, but the bees felt that this is the right place for them to be and to, nourished, because we got the flowers, attracts them. So, and we leave them alone. The birds the same. We got hundreds of birds' nests in there, and so lovely to see them, especially early in the morning or later evening. It's like homecoming. Really, the sounds that you hear, and like the filtering of the light through these plants and having their shadow of leaves moving on the walls. Beautiful.
On this note, Dariush, thank you so much for your time. We will close this podcast here. Thank you so much. That's all we have for this episode. Thank you for tuning in for this episode of In Design With. You can subscribe to our podcast on our YouTube channel at Identity AE or on Spotify. This is your host, Anisha, signing off.